Jennifer and Mel for hosting this, and I had told Mel the actual print that's framed, if anyone wants to buy that, we will donate that for cover to cover and for poetry readings, and then there's a couple of extra copies of the prints as well. So just to know that. And gratitude to so many, and namaste to all of you for being here. We all know that to get a book out, there are many people standing behind us and with us, supporting us, and I'm very thankful for everyone who's supported me on my journey. And I'm thankful for my partner, Judy Rose, who will be playing Native American flute. So this evening, we've just passed the Lunar New Year, the year of the horse, and tomorrow is the Leo full moon. So I invite you to think about your own intentions for the creative process, for your own writing, your own gifts, and also to honor those who supported you on the journey, your own creative journey. As I read this first poem. Carrot, rabbit, clay. Make a pinch pot. Paint it turquoise. Add small red beads. Silver. Smudge with yellow cedar. White sage. Form a rabbit of porcelain clay. Sculpt a bowl in its back. Add sacred objects. Small gemstones, coins, feathers, dried carrots, blue cornmeal, wishes. I spent quite a time in Alaska, and so a poem from St. Mary's, Alaska, The Way the Soul Crosses. Look, the moon is pure light. It swells, translucent. That's how it will always be held in your belly. We cross the tundra, kneel on moss and lichen, pray wild roses, red berries. Questions rise dense as mosquitoes. There are so many things we can't change, so many things that change anyway. Transfiguration. The grain becomes bread, the berries become wine. The way the soul crosses over the Yukon River in a small aluminum dinghy. The way the seal gut is painted with red ochre. The way we remember one another when faith is stretched like skin on a drum. The way we remember the taste of light, wine, bread. I work in a medical center, and I'm always aware of those that I have the privilege of working with, accompanying with on their journey, and also the honoring of people who have come back from war and many wars that our country's been in, and the pain that they carry. And so this poem, Window, Winter. Each day I wander through the landscape of spirit, this evening painting, dry bamboo, watercolor blocks, 4 months in my studio, restless, thoughts lengthening with the shadows. Body, stalk, limb, weary with winter. Together with the OBGYNs, I witnessed 3 babies die. One Sid's death with the midwives, and then a man my age of cancer. Then a 9-year-old child unnecessarily killed when towed on a wooden sleigh between and behind a sap green SUV. She was not pulled by the fjord ponies who neigh at my window, waiting for grain. Our neighbor's 23-year-old grandson comes home from Iraq, Afghanistan, back to Stumptown with a stump, not a leg, and a wheelchair, not a cobalt skateboard. 7 colors of paint on my palette. How many years have we been at war now? Another neighbor chops down a row of apple and pear trees. I stare at the lovely rounds of wood in disbelief. They were dead, he says. I shake my head, no, they needed pruning. The kestrels, robins, chickadees, juncos, the hummingbirds, raccoons, and dragonflies all shared the canopy of these trees as their home. Compassion fatigue, intuitive grief, instrumental grief. Number 2, sable brush. And the next poem I actually shared here at Cover to Cover when Don Thompson was here doing a reading, a friend of mine. And it again is an honoring and confidentiality of people that I've walked with on their journey. White clay, red-tailed hawk. I help the nurse unzip the body bag, blue, then place a soft floral quilt over the top of the white cotton sheet. Wipe dried blood from her beautiful face. 3 red-tailed hawks circle over Salmon Creek, over the woods behind the hospital. Suicide, overdose. The 3rd woman this week. 1 my age, 1 a decade older, and 1 a decade younger than me. Diagnosis, untreated depression. Dear sister, I say without speaking. Hours later, I'm sitting at my grandmother's desk, tulle painted green with burgundy flowers. I'm watching the family of 5 house sparrows fly from the blackberry vines, which are taking over the torn and faded Tibetan prayer flags, to the stone bird bath made in a factory in China. Here, well watered, the dandelions and white clover flourish amidst the pansies and miniature yellow roses. I'm drinking green tea and thinking about her face, smooth, unwrinkled, the color of white clay. She is much younger than me. Short hair, highlighted, parted in the middle, her mother's gasp, my baby. The red-tailed hawk's call is a high-faith scream. The Chinook used to lay the bones of their dead on open piers on Memaloose Island, in the middle of the Columbia River. Here on the banks of Salmon Creek, the Salish and Chinook gathered for fish camp. Is this place now like the Memaloose or the Orkneys, the islands of the dead, a place of transition? Perhaps people and animals will come here to cross the river to the other side, and we will journey with them, drinking sweet Earl Grey with bergamot. Sometimes when asked, I go to the basement to the morgue alone to check if the funeral home has been there to pick up the body. I never let the metal door completely close when I am inside. I pray in a language I've never heard before. When I return upstairs, I go outside to the healing garden, watch for lesser goldfinch, cedar waxwing, mourning dove. As I open the glass door to the healing garden, I see her face again, reflected back in my own. I also spent a little time in Wyoming, and so this is in honor of the Bear Lodge writers and in memory of Gaydell Collier, a friend of mine who was if you're a horse person, she wrote a lot of the classic horse book texts on how to ride. So for Gaydell. Wrapped in Wyoming. This morning I sent a saddle prayer out from the back of a working horse. Bent over and touched her hooves with gladness. Felt the sacred intimacy of wind and silence. Everybody turned and looked when I walked into the coffee shop. Alone, no cigarettes, skin pinto red from being in Ecuador, 3 weeks longer than expected. I just wanted to put something sweet in my mouth, drink coffee, and think in the glaze of morning, after running 6 miles with my cattle dog to get us both back in shape again. Here is another day folded in my leather gloves, like a letter I sent to Deer Valley, South Dakota. I bend down on my knees on the cabin floor, feel the warmth of wood and red flannel. It is dusk in Wyoming. I kneel in front of the bear lodge, watching the sky, wrapped with prayer bundles, barn swallows, sweet lemon tea. And a newer poem I entitled She Speaks for the Bees, and a quote from Psalm 19:10, sweeter than honey, even the drippings from the honeycombs. Mama, what if there were no honeybees? The 6-year-old girl asks inquisitively, auburn curls at her temples, eyes the color of hostas in late September. She asks again her question about the bees. I'm afraid it would be very sad. The flowers and trees depend on them. We all do. Her voice trails off as she considers how to explain the complex process of pollination to a child. Bees go from flower to flower, transforming nectar into honey. They pollinate our favorite fruits, like Honeycrisp apples and Desiree peaches. The girl sticks out her lower lip, the color of pink pearl apples, pulls her teddy bear close to her chest. But it hurts when they sting us. Outside the hospital, we watch the bees slowly move from daisy to dahlia, the late blooming flowers of autumn. The mother, with end-stage metastatic breast cancer, finding ways to tell her daughter that she was dying, now, along with the bees. In June, we learned that over 50,000 bees were found dead outside an outlet mall in Wilsonville. The flowering linden trees in the parking lot sprayed with a common insecticide, clumps of dead bees on the sidewalks. Monocrops replacing small diverse farms, small selection of pollen, malnourished bees, pharmaceuticals designed to mimic plant-based nicotine, climate change, the long list of probable causes of the deaths of the bees, not unlike the causes of cancer, no longer an epidemic, pandemic. The bees with iridescent wings, delicate membranes, colonies, queen bees with royal jelly, worker bees, intricate communities, a part of the luminous thread. Sunlit honeycombs dripping with ambrosia, the music of thousands of wings. The mother tells me she remembers playing Russian composer Rimsky-Korsakov's Flight of the Bumblebee on her silver flute, as she watches the U.S. Secretary of State announce that Syria, quote-unquote, crossed global lines. She closes her eyes with the painful news, clumps of dead bodies on the sidewalks. This afternoon, she drinks tea with hibiscus, chamomile, peppermint, and rose petals, wishes she had enough breath to play her flute, winces with pain, winces to see thousands of civilians in Damascus, dead with neurotoxic symptoms. How would anyone gas their people with a chemical weapon? How would a military intervention not impact all the children of the world? She asks me. Neither our country nor our conscience can afford the cost of silence, the diplomat continues. What about the destruction of the environment by our chemicals? She keeps asking questions while her daughter sleeps. Do bees have a righteous sense of anger? About colony collapse? Do they understand how sweet the laws of nature? Are they simply in deep grief the bees use expletives. She says, if they did, what would they tell us? And a couple more poems to remember our connectedness with all creation, with one another, with the planet, within the breath. White flowers on lemon balm, basil. Our minds wander amidst spices, through consciousness of well-being, focused, present. A small translucent spider, a soft peppermint leaf, a crow feather, and all the blackbirds gathered below us, red-winged, solid black, sheer garnet, obsidian. In which one sings, one holds nothing, except the song, the singing, symmetrical, immediate. Green tea, prayer wheel, snail labyrinth. The soul is sensitive to images, to what is in us, the hemoglobin, platelets, the resonance of cellular memory. To what is before us, the light gathered, crow, staircase, basil, rose. This evening we face the west, sun-dappled faces, maple leaves, blackbirds, shadows, breath. In which one breathes, one holds everything. The original state motto of Oregon was Alice volat probis, which means she flies with her own wings. 3 deer drink from the creek this morning. A woman drank jasmine tea from a gray pottery cup. Transcendence has everything to do with our daily experience. Up north, we hear the sockeye salmon are spawning. Daylight grows shorter. She touched your cheek with her fingertips. Says she saw an angel yesterday in her room. The IV bag of sodium chloride with potassium is almost empty. She says our spiritual path is the most important. A river otter ate part of a trout and fish eggs on the dock this afternoon. Her primary care physician gave her 6 months. The hospice social worker asked if she ate her breakfast. Yes, she says, the angel has wings. And again, I invite you to think about all the people who supported you, all your ancestors on your journey. The last poem in the book is called Honoring the Spirits. I come near you through the constellations. Big Dipper turned upside down on the horizon, like a pot on the hill above the village. Willow ptarmigan offer winter supplications, call us to the potlatch, where dancers glide across the pine floor. Here the shaman is wearing a Nebuchadnezzar mask, one that sticks to the face, as she offers food to spirits of the dead. She bends her head, face down. The mask is fused to her face, flesh to flesh, skin of animal, skin of woman. Appendages of wood, feather, fur, rattle loudly, cry out. When you go outside in the starlit snow, look back a few steps. Tell me if I am a woman.
Thank you for that. beautiful reading. I really want to thank Gwendolyn for being gracious enough to share her featured reading with our book launch, which was supposed to be last month, but was delayed according to the weather. And I really just want to acknowledge and say a big thank you to Judy Rose for her beautiful music as well. Let's give her as is our tradition, because it's always a long night here at Ghost Town, we're going to take a break so that you can buy Gwendolyn's book and stretch your legs, get some coffee. We'll be back in approximately 15 minutes for more open